Hello, I'm Raymond McNally. I've studied Dracula for over 30 years, but I first learned about him from the same place that you did, the movies. Although Bram Stoker's famous book has sold millions of copies, movies made Dracula truly immortal. It was through the movies that Dracula reached the masses and continues to do so today. Dracula owes his robust film career to one of the earliest vampire films ever made, the incomparable Nosferatu. Based on Stoker's novel, this film set the standard for all subsequent vampire movies, and the genre has been wildly successful ever since. It is still terrifying. We have included the entire film on this CD, along with an optional commentary tract. Of course, not every Dracula movie can live up to Nosferatu's standards. Dracula's legend has been stretched to fit all kinds of bizarre scenarios. There have been Dracula westerns, movies about Dracula's blood-sucking pets, and, of course, scantily clad women being attacked by rubber bats. We've included brief clips from just a few of the more ridiculous films here. The Dracula theme is so popular that he's also turned up in a Bow Wow movie, Zoltan, Hound of Dracula, or sometimes called Dracula's Dog. We might even call it Dracula's Turkey. Anyway, in this case, he's pulling out this coffin. Very, very clever dog. He's the best thing in the movie, actually. He does it with such emotion. He's the faithful dog, all right. He's going to help his master, who's been laid to rest in this coffin. He opens up the tomb, and now, like a very, very good, faithful dog, he's going to do what has to be done. And he's going to pull the stake out of Dracula's heart, so the problem's going to be back again. You know, in the folklore, when you drive the stake through, you should burn the body afterwards as a double insurance policy, because you never know. Here's an example of what you never know. Some idiot will come along, maybe it's not a dog, as in this case, but somebody could come along, take the stake out, and you've got your problem back again. Here's Dracula. He doesn't look too menacing to me, but the dog sure does. Look at those eyes. The British resurrected Dracula in countless movies in the 1970s from Hammer Studios. This is the famous one, Scars of Dracula, with Christopher Lee as Dracula. And there's his latest victim, a wonderful girl. There's the cross, and it's in a significant place, and it glitters and shakes, looking for help from outside, and wowie, there it comes. In a funky-looking vampire bat that wouldn't fool almost anyone except this girl, I guess. It's unbelievable, but he's going for the cleavage, as you might anticipate, and he's doing quite a messy job of it, too, on poor lady's bosoms. Finally, it goes away, and now he's ready to make his attack. Literally, she's been softened up by the vampire bat. Dracula has even appeared in American westerns, such as this one, Billy the Kid versus Dracula. There's Billy the Kid with his western hat on, and he's firing away at Dracula. Of course, it's all useless. We all know that. Bullets don't stop a vampire. So it's this old world Dracula who's now overcoming this western type, this Billy the Kid. They hustle and hassle and back and forth, and he tries to squeeze poor Billy's neck, and he's pulling him down. Ooh! And then he grunts and groans with that snarl of his that sounds awfully like the Frankenstein creature. Then he drops poor Billy to the ground. The first Dracula movie to survive to our day was entitled Nosferatu, or A Symphony of Horror. And it is, in my opinion, still the best ever because it captures the eerie spirit of Stoker's novel. Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau, known as the German genius, is the one who directed this movie, and it's now renowned all over the world as a cult classic. However, sadly for Murnau, he didn't get copyright permission from the Stoker estate, and Bram Stoker's wife, Florence Stoker, had retained copyright to her husband's work after his death in 1912, some 10 years before the release of Nosferatu. She had come to depend on those royalties from that copyright as a necessary source of her income. So when she learned about Murnau's movie, she was very, very angry, sued in the German courts, and she won. So the film was supposed to be destroyed, but miraculously it did survive, and today it's readily available in almost any video store, or most video stores, in many, many versions. A copy of the screenplay, fortunately for all of us, written by Henrik Galeen, has survived. Just as Bram Stoker used actual recordings and sometimes printed text to justify what he had done, so does Murnau. I mean, he uses this idea, he's made it up, of some historian from Bremen who's trying to figure out the source of the plague that hit that city, and it boils down to these two characters, Jonathan Harker and his wife Mina. The movie opens up with a scene actually from Lübeck. Then we fade to smiling Harker. He's adjusting his tie. You'll note a lot in this movie that Harker laughs and smiles a lot. He's almost like some kind of a smiling idiot because a lot of stuff's happening, but he's happy until later on in the movie. Here he is gathering flowers happily for his rather brooding girlfriend. And there he smiles again with that, if you want to call it, infectious smile, somewhat like a disease. And he laughs and laughs and laughs, and he bends over. Guess what I have behind me, huh? 3 guesses. And of course, she's happy to see him, embraces him wildly. They spin around. He kisses her several times. And then he thinks he's got this great surprise. Guess what, darling? And what does she do? Very unhappy. Why? He's cut them, the beautiful flowers. He's so touched by her tenderness of spirit that he hugs her. Impalement is a lost art. There are many ways to impale, such as driving a stake through the chest, the mouth, etc. Here we see how one can hoist a victim up on a crane and then force the body down on the stake, sort of like preparing human shish kebab. The victim dies in excruciating pain. It's a lasting example of what can happen to you if you disobey the rules in Dracula country. Dracula's main enemy was the Turkish army. Those soldiers can be easily identified by their remarkable headdresses in the video which you are watching. Dracula secured his positive reputation in history as a great war leader, as indeed he was. He fought fiercely against the Turks, and so did his troops. In fact, they did so because whoever didn't fight properly and was wounded in the back, meaning that the person was fleeing, a coward, he'd have that person impaled. Whereas if you were wounded in the front, that was testimony in his mind that you were fighting properly and bravely, and he would give you great rewards.
From German manuscript 806 from the St. Gall Monastery in Switzerland, translated by Raymond T. McNally.
Dracula invited the poor, the sick, and beggars to a huge banquet, and he gave them plenty to eat and to drink, and they were extremely happy, and they danced away, and they drank some more, and they ate some more. And then he asked them, "Is there anything more I can do for you?" And they thought he was going to give them a great gift. So they said, "Well, Lord, could we be relieved of our daily cares, since we're beggars, sick, and poor?" He said, "Fine." So when they weren't watching too carefully, he had his troops come in, and they bolted down all the doors and the windows. And then he set fire to the hall, and all the poor and the sick and the beggars died in the flames. And then he said, "Look, I did what they wanted me to do. They don't have to worry about their daily cares anymore." He had a unique solution to the social welfare problem. Well, I'm fascinated with the idea of immortality and remaining young and healthy, and how one could do it, what one would do to sustain such life. It's an interesting idea because it kind of stretches the mind to think about the unthinkable.